Hi there, Steve Arterburn here, and thanks for joining me for my little series I'm doing here, the 12 Gifts of Life Recovery, on Going Deeper, with my new sign and my new logo. I think it was there yesterday. So this past weekend, I was not serene. I did not say the Serenity Prayer, but it was the concepts of the Serenity Prayer that got me through really one of the worst accidents I've ever had. In fact, I think it's the biggest mess I've ever created in my life. In my office, there are 2 flights of stairs. I was at the top of the tallest flight, and I had a quart of dark stain. And I had just stained a piece of furniture. Fabulous job. And as I'm walking, I stumble, and the can hits the first step. The lid bursts open, and I've got all these paintings and stuff, and it just covered everything. Now, you think that's not very much, a quart. It was everywhere, all over the steps, and I still don't have it cleaned up. But I got to tell you, I did something that, and it really does relate to the Serenity Prayer, that helped me not start crying. Because one minute I'm happy and free, the next minute I've just made the worst mess of my life. I look at the mess, and what do? Well, I certainly couldn't change it, even though I did have a flicker of, oh, is there any way to get that back? Of course, no. So my daughter has been working on factors. What's the highest common factor of 2 numbers? What's the lowest common factor? So factoring is figuring out, here are the numbers that make up the bigger number. So guess what I did? I went to factoring my problem. First job, I could do it. Sop up the wet stuff that's there. Second job, go to work on the walls. Third job, go to work on the paintings that it splattered on and send some of them back to Goodwill because they're worthless. And then I haven't quite finished yet, but I'm going to have to wax the floors because I'm having to use all sorts of stuff to get this stuff up. Now, look at me smiling about the worst, I was not smiling last night, worst accident that I've ever had or mess I've ever created. But it went from, oh my goodness, this is impossible to clean this up, to, okay, what do I need to do first? Factory. So what am I saying here? I think one of the ways to have serenity is to break things down into pieces. You'll never have serenity if you're looking at a mountain and you think, I've got to move this entire mountain by lifting it up and put it over there. But you know what? You could move that mountain, if you had enough time, with a wheelbarrow. Depends on the size of the mountain, how long you live, but one wheelbarrow at a time, you could get that mountain moved, couldn't you? So by breaking it down and getting involved in the things that I could do, all of a sudden I wasn't miserable anymore. So serenity comes when we have a challenge and we break down what might seem impossible into some little chunks that actually feel quite possible. Now, that Serenity Prayer, we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But here's another thing that helps me have serenity. I have serenity when I have realistic expectations of myself and other people. You know who doesn't have serenity? People that are expecting too much from too many people all the time. If everybody's disappointing you, if everybody's letting you down, maybe it's not them. Maybe it's you. Maybe you have been unrealistic in what you expect from yourself or for others. So if I want serenity, I really have to have realistic expectations. Now I also need to do this huge thing. It's hard to do sometimes, but when I do it, boy, does it ever have great, wonderful benefits. And that's to surrender my life to a power greater than myself, who just happens to be the God of the universe, whose Son is Jesus Christ, and the third part of God the Father and Jesus is the Holy Spirit. And when I surrender and give up trying to manage, trying to take things into my own hands, what? Take things into my own hands? How do I take things into my own hands? I sin, even though I know I shouldn't. Or I make a vow, well, I'm never, ever going to let a man do that to me. I'll never, ever be in a relationship again where I'm vulnerable. Or I make a radical conclusion. All men are idiots. I saw a bumper sticker, all men are idiots. It did say that. And I married their king was the other part. I didn't like that. Anyway, so we really do, we need to surrender everything that we have to God. And we just realize God's the higher power, Jesus Christ, Holy Spirit. When I do it, I actually have some supernatural strength. It's pretty exciting to have. Okay? Now, what else? Well, I don't surrender to just anything. I surrender to God. I don't just surrender one time, I surrender every day to God. And there is a God, a real and living God. I got to tell you, it would be really hard for me to be an atheist, knowing that a lot of Jewish people over centuries memorized the Old Testament before they wrote stuff down, because they really believed all those things came true. Then you go over to the New Testament, and you got these brilliant people like physicians who write down everything that they could see when they were serving Christ. I believe those people. I believe a lot of books that I don't really have it verified as much as those. Who was the author and when did they write it? So I want to surrender to God. I want to surround myself with some healthy things. If I'm always looking at horrible videos, horrible games I play versus relaxing music, relaxing stuff on the internet, then I'm really going to keep myself in a state of anything but serenity. So I don't want to do that. Now, let's just take this Serenity Prayer apart, because so many people have used this prayer. When Bill Wilson of Alcoholics Anonymous, when he saw this prayer, he said, I think there's more AA in this prayer than any other thing I've ever read. Now, what he meant was all the principles in Alcoholics Anonymous really apply and come out of and are inside this prayer. So, first of all, it's a prayer to ask. Ask God to grant you something. And it's asking God to grant you the serenity, enough serenity, peaceful, purposeful, peaceful, happy heart, glad heart, light spirit. Grant me so much of that, God, that I can truly accept the things that I cannot change. Can an angry person accept the things they can't change? No, they're angry, they can't change them. So when I look at this prayer, all it's saying is, it's called the Serenity Prayer, but it only applies the first thing. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Can't change who you are, you can't change your history, but you can change what you do today, and then over time, that will change who you are. Pretty cool the way that works. But instantly, it's not going to be anything good. So I ask God to give me serenity so I can accept the things I can't change. And then, next part of the prayer, courage to change the things I can. How can you have serenity if there are things you know you can do something about, but you're being irresponsible? Irresponsible people do not live in serenity. So you truly want to do whatever you can do to be responsible. That is, and that's the courage to do the things or change the things that I can't. Now, what is courage? Here's my definition. Courage is doing what needs to be done when it needs to be done, no matter the consequences. You see these guys pull up to a car that's had a wreck and it's starting to smoke, and then it catches on fire. The hero goes in, pulls the guy out of the car, and saves his life. Probably scared to death the thing's going to blow up any minute. But he has the courage to do what needs to be done, when it needs to be done. 30 seconds later is too late, no matter the consequences. And you're saying, I might get blown up, but I'm going to do it anyway. So I ask God to grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. You know, I was changing a light bulb in a lamp, and I started thinking, yeah, it doesn't work. So I had a bad bulb, and then I went to put in the second bulb, and that didn't work. So guess what I concluded? It must be the lamp, not the bulbs. And then about an hour later, I had this thought. Hey, wait a minute. What if that second bulb was bad too? Maybe I don't have a bad lamp. Maybe I have two bad bulbs. So I went to the third bulb option. Not always what I do. Screwed in the third bulb. Lamp worked perfectly. Okay, so now I live my life by the third bulb principle. I try this extreme. I try that extreme. Neither works. Don't give up. Maybe this stream, this path, maybe that's the way to go. Jeremiah 6:16, stop at the crossroads. Look around. Search for the old godly path and walk in its steps, and you will find peace for your soul. Kind of like serenity. So I want to encourage you to experience the gift of serenity. With courage, you experience it. Wisdom, surrendering, accepting, and really trying to focus on the gifts that you have, not the crummy stuff, the bad stuff, everything that you could be critical of. Just focus on the good stuff. And you'll have peace for your soul as you follow the path that God has laid out for you. That's the gift of serenity. It's number 12 right here in the 12 gifts of life recovery. There's also 12 laws of life recovery that go with this. You'll enjoy them both. You could order them at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And if you want a free restoration Bible, if you call me, no, don't call me. Just email me at stevesocial@newlife.com. You could call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for it there. And I'll send you a Bible. I'll autograph it for you, and I'll get it off to you. And you pay nothing, and it's not going to ask you to give or anything. It's just going to be a gift to you. I'll see you next time. If you need any help, you call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Thanks for going deeper with Steve Arterburn.